Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a jerk for leaving the hospital after my husband called for his mom instead of me? My husband is a 31-year-old male, and he was in the hospital for a surgery that involved anesthesia. His mom came to wait with me there, but didn't speak to me because we have been having some minor disagreements. She offered me a coffee, but I declined politely. Hours after the surgery, we were told only one person can go into the room for the day since he was still under anesthesia. From what I understood, he woke up calling for his mom. The nurse asked his mom to go in, and she did. I was irritated, and I felt like this was all waiting and stressing out, and it got ignored. The nurse told me that he was still not fully awake and was repeatedly calling for his mom spontaneously. She was basically hinting that I shouldn't get worked up over a natural reaction from my husband, but I couldn't help but feel irked. I wanted to go home, so I left 10 minutes later. His mom called saying that she got out of the room after I left so I could get some time with him, but instead I couldn't wait and went home. She said this was not okay and flew off on the handle for no reason. I said that her son acted like I wasn't even there, but she said that he cannot be blamed for something he can't control, and I'm just being unfair to him and putting blame on him because of a disagreement between her and I. I cut the conversation short after I sensed that she somehow blamed me for being unacknowledged and ignored. Her husband texts later saying that I am being hostile over nothing and that I should focus on my husband's health instead of acting petty, but I don't think I did anything that qualifies as petty. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
I'm gonna say that Opie's being a jerk here.
OP is being a little sensitive. It sounds like OP is kind of taking out the situation on the mom. And
On her husband,
yeah.
yeah. And the thing about anesthesia is, our subconscious minds are very much ingrained with a lot of early memories.
Mm-hmm.
I have been living out of my parents' house for over a decade, and I still routinely have dreams where I'm living at home with my parents and siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you're coming out of that kind of state, his mom was probably like the first person who tended to him for like the first couple decades of his life. It's pretty normal, I think, for people under anesthesia to like call out
Yeah.
for their parents.
Yeah, well, and also, it's not even that big of a deal for someone to call out for their
Well,
mother,
that's
right?
true too.
Yeah.
Like you can have two people you care about who you
Mm-hmm.
want to see, and like if you can only see one at a time, you may pick one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, the wife is just taking this out. I think OP is just being a little oversensitive here, and I don't think that this has any bearing on the health of the relationship. Although I think there are probably signs here that there is some cracks and some unhealthiness in the relationship.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for showing up to a PTA meeting in a dress? I'm a 23-year-old female. Alright, so you need some backstory to understand this. When I was 10, my mother remarried and had two more kids, 9 months apart. This is, fake names, Thor and Loki. Currently 13-year-old male and 14-year-old male. The TLDR is my mother was not fit to be a mother, and the court agreed, as I had been taking care of my little brothers full time since they were both pretty much born. At 17, I enlisted and on boot leave plus RA got a full legal custody of my little brothers. So for the past 5.5 years, they've been moving around with me in the military. Though again, I've been taking care of them, like changing diapers, testing bottles, taking care since they were plus or minus 6 months. So recently, I got a really good job, as was my plan when I got out of the military. And the boys and I live in a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom apartment in a really nice part of town. I recently enrolled them in a bougie private school so I can ensure that if they want, they can get scholarships for college and whatnot. Now, this private school has the parents really involved. So I spaced that the boys' school had a PTA function slash parent teacher conferences after work this day. I was still on time, but I showed up in my work clothes. Side note, I'm quite thin if that matters. A dress that was not low cut, minimal makeup, and stockings, thigh highs, but no one could see them anyway, and small heels. Now I'm sort of tall, and the dress falls about 2.5 inches above my knee, which I guess might be short. Anyway, I noticed some of the parents looking at me, so I went over to say hi and started chatting, and a couple of the guys were also prior military, so we are joking around and hitting it off when some of the moms pulled me aside and snidely informed me my attire was inappropriate for the event. Now I disagreed and went back to chatting with some of the folks when I saw my little brother's favorite teacher. a 28-year-old male who happens to be very attractive, and went over to chat with him. Now I politely asked him if he thought my attire was appropriate, and he said I looked both appropriate and pretty. But the group of women who pulled me aside have been spreading rumors that I was a jerk for bringing down the class of the school and dressing like a uh,
Adult worker.
dressing like an adult worker in the school. So am I the jerk for continuing to wear dresses to PTA functions?
All right. Well, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. These moms need to
There's only one group of people that are bringing the class down of this school.
and it's these
Uh,
people who are being jerks to OP for no reason.
it just sounds like they're being petty, maybe jealous. Who knows really what their motivations are? And it's just that people like this are always going to try dragging you down. I don't understand why they don't have better things to do with their day than to harass OP about wearing a dress.
Right, like there's nothing. I mean, I am short, so I don't know this personally, but I have heard from lots of tall people that finding dresses that fit dress codes when you're tall is really hard because they make dresses, in like a universal length. So, a dress that hits me right above the knees is going to be coming, quite a bit higher up on someone who's tall.
Yeah.
And so it just sounds like she was wearing a dress. It was a dress she wore to work. And these moms just are like, no, you can't wear this. I can see your kneecaps.
Well, I mean, if we're still going by those kinds of dress codes, then I mean, that's kind of a very antiquated dress code as it is. I mean, I know some places do enforce that, but this was clearly appropriate enough for her to go to work. This was
Yeah.
clearly appropriate enough for her to do her general business during the daytime, and the teachers didn't seem to think that this was inappropriate either. So I think that if anyone is in the wrong here, it's probably the other people who are being gossipy and mean.
Yeah.
Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Husband His Name Suggestion for Our Unborn Baby is Idiotic at Best? Hello, all. This has caused quite a stir on both sides of the family, and my niece suggested that I post here so that I can garner an unbiased opinion. Unfortunately, as this is relevant to the story, I will have to keep much personal information uncensored in the story. As such, this is a throwaway account. I'm a 35-year-old female, and my husband is a 37-year-old male, and I am pregnant with our first child. We are overjoyed, as we have struggled with previous infertility and miscarriages for the last decade. We want the gender to be a surprise, but may have to find out to settle this. I'm currently at the tail end of my second trimester. Now, my husband absolutely idolized his grandpa, who unfortunately passed away last week. My husband is devastated, especially about the notion that his children will never meet their great grandpa, who adored their father so much. As such, my husband has been suggesting that we name the baby after his grandpa. Theodore if it's a boy, and Theodora if it's a girl. Either way, we will call them Teddy or Theo or Thea, respectively. It's not that I mind the nickname, the issue is that our last name is pronounced Bundy. I asked my husband, Do you really see no issue in naming our kid Ted Bundy? You don't think that would cause or raise any questions? He says no, he's just honoring his grandpa. I told him he needs to think about how we will be perceived, how our child will be treated, and the implication that the name inherently carries. I literally had to spell out why it would be a horrible idea, and he still thinks that I just hate his grandpa. I told him no, Grandpa was named in the 1930s when the name Ted Bundy wouldn't have been a problem. However, since certain events in the 70s and 80s, there's no feasible way we can give this name to our kid and not cause issues. He kept pushing and pushing until I blew up at him and told him to stop with the idiotic suggestion. And that's what it is, idiotic at best, sociopathic at worst. I got extremely upset and told his family and my parents, who are divided. His family is obviously on his side and wants to honor the grandpa via naming the baby after him. My parents are torn, but on my side, they understand the social pariah that would make our child by giving them such a similar name to a person who did such an abhorrent and downright evil things to so many women. I mean, personally, I don't think anyone is just going to assume that we are honoring a passed away loved one. They're going to think of Ted Bundy. Am I the jerk? Edit just to say that you are all proving my point that Ted Bundy is still clearly an infamous name. He has not been one comment that didn't immediately make the correlation upon hearing the last name. This is exactly why I don't want this to happen to my kids. Kids are jerks. They're going to find a way to be mean. Let's not just hand them material. Bundy's full name was Theodore Bundy. That's where the problem is ultimately stemming from. When a teacher reads the name from the roll, be it Theodore or Theodora, they aren't going to assume a nickname, it's just going to be the full thing. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
I'm going to say not the jerk here. Now, there are some names which, unfortunately, it doesn't matter what kind of connections you have with them personally, due to things that happen, they're just not good names to name your kid.
Yeah, I mean, I know in the United States the name like Adolf is not really used anymore. And,
Right.
Adolf was kind of like a popular name for a long time, I believe, or at least not like an unpopular name, but no one in their right mind is going to name their kid Adolf now, right?
And so, like, it's unfortunately fortunate that Grandpa happened to have this a very close name to an infamous serial killer.
Yeah.
But you can't name your great grandchild after this because of like, especially with that Zac Efron movie about Ted Bundy. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard or seen anything
there
about
there
that
was a
one.
couple years ago there was a movie about Ted Bundy starring Zac Efron, I think, and so like he's very much in the pop culture. Like this
Yeah.
isn't like a serial killer from like the 1800s that everyone's forgotten. Like
Yeah.
there are some like you could have the same name as a serial killer and probably
Like
no one would
Jack.
know.
Jack the Ripper.
Right. Well, Jack. Yeah, you can name your kid Jack, and it's not
And
weird
no one's going
because
to be like, oh, yeah, that's an inappropriate name.
but this one is just it's so specific, so close, pronounced the same way as a serial killer's name, a serial killer who is still in our collective memories.
Yeah. You could even name your kid Zodiac and probably no one would care.
They would
I'm
they
just
would have
kidding.
some questions.
I'm just kidding.
Well, they probably wouldn't go to the Zodiac killer
No,
though.
I
They would
know. They would
probably
just
just
be
be
like,
like,
why?
"You're
Why are your parents naming you after the Zodiac?
not even a specific
Yeah,
Zodiac sign, just Zodiac."
just Zodiac. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverage of choice. Hopefully, you've got something on hand. I have my tea. Amber has her tea. And as you can see, I did Wordle in 5 of 6 today.
I also did Wordle in 5 of 6.
So, also, Amber wanted me to show this to you. I did this a couple of days ago, and since Amber's here, she's a good opportunity. So I actually made this nice simplified art of Amber, and so I think it came out pretty well. And Amber was pretty pleased with how it came out too.
Yeah, it
So,
was based on an Alice in Wonderland Disney bound I had done. So,
so let me know what you folks think of it.
why is O the only vowel that is sounded?
I don't know why.
Because all the rest are inaudible.
That's actually my starter word for Wordle a lot.
You mean audio?
Or audio, yeah. I guess audio, which does have an O in it.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. It's the Brian brain.
I had mint tea,
And I had licorice spice.
which I guessed he kept his tea in the other room, so I couldn't see it.
Yes, Amber couldn't cheat today, but she still guessed it.
I thought I smelled like a trace whiff of it, so I may still have cheated. But our last story is: am I the jerk for publicly telling my niece that her aunt shower is tacky and rude? I don't have children myself, and I do realize etiquette has changed from when I was younger, so my own opinion on this may be skewed. I have a niece and a nephew. My nephew was set to be married in April 2 years ago. We all know what happened, and they ended up deciding to wait until things cleared up, since by that point they had been together for 5 years and decided there was no need to rush. It was after New Year's when they found out they were expecting. They didn't announce it then. They did what at the registry office. It was quick and simple, and one of the staff was gracious enough to take a few photos, which they sent around to everyone. They had decided not to wait since they were going to be parents soon. They did announce her pregnancy 3 weeks ago publicly. Then, a week after the announcement, my niece invited me to an aunt's shower. Firstly, I believed it was a baby shower, named so because the aunt is throwing it for my nephew's wife. It is a shower for my niece herself as an aunt, with gifts for herself and not even items she could use for a baby. I was flabbergasted when I found out. My brother just shrugged. My niece says she's simply excited to be an aunt, especially because my nephew's wife has no brothers and sisters of her own. Yet, showers are for new mothers and generally included baby items, not this. She also said since my nephew had a registry wedding, there was no shower or gift giving for the occasion, so she is making up for it. Notice by taking gifts for herself,
Yes.
not for her brother.
Yeah, it's all for her.
For his part, my nephew told me himself and his wife said to no to their own invitation and won't be attending, endorsing, or acknowledging the shower. They had no part in planning it and don't understand it, and traveling an hour for the event would be a waste of time. When my niece would not stop asking me to come, I told her the idea of an aunt shower is the height of rudeness and beyond tacky. My niece is very upset with me, and my brother sided with her, of course. This is not my concern. I did do it publicly, which I also admit is tacky, but I was so appalled by the idea.
All right. Well, what do you think?
I'm gonna say OP's not the jerk here. It sounds like the niece was publicly hounding OP
Yeah,
about
yeah.
coming to the shower, and it is tacky and rude to like be
Well,
monopolizing.
I mean, that's not entirely true. I mean, she's going to be an aunt, and I mean, it seems like that's an important event, important enough that people should give you presents for it. Like,
Yeah.
like, how else is she supposed to get her blendo mixer, right? I mean, it's not like she's gonna go out and foot the bill for that. She's now going to be an aunt, so she's gonna have to dedicate all of her income to raising her niece or nephew, and that's a hard reality.
Yeah, I don't think that's how being an
So,
aunt generally
I mean,
works.
and like that's going to be a lot of money that she's just going to have to spend every single month, and a lot of time. So
Yeah, no.
I mean, because she's going to be spending all of her income and basically all of her time helping raise this child, I can understand why this is going to be something where she wants to at least have a little bit of a break and a little bit of reward before that's happening.
Yeah, no, that's not what any of this sounds like. It sounds like she's taking her brother and his wife's pregnancy and monopolizing it for her own attention and monetization.
Yeah, that's really what it sounds like. I'm
Like,
of course just joking.
well, and like she's the only sibling, like on either side. Like, generally, she would be the one to throw the baby shower for her brother and his wife or be involved in it. But instead of throwing a baby shower for them, she's like, no, 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 like, you can just come and give me presents.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have a wedding registry. So, just spend all that money you would have spent on them who are, incurring the financial responsibilities of a child. Just spend it on me.
So, I think that if the aunt shower kind of fails here, what the aunt should do instead is get like a pet and then have a shower for the pet.
I actually recently read a Reddit story where like Opie, I forgot if they were their siblings or what, but one had a baby. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. His one of his sisters had a baby, and then the other one got adopted a dog, and she was upset when he didn't like fly out to meet her new dog and like shower her dog with gifts from the Amazon registry she made from the dog.
Uh,
And so he was wondering if he was in the wrong for not valuing the dog as much as his other sister's child.
yeah. Good times. Good times.
So like when you said that, I was just like that is a thing that happens far too often if Reddit is to be believed.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. And if you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior.
And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.